Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Friends Podcast, man. Thank you for joining us here today. And if it's your first time, thank you for coming through. We definitely appreciate you guys for listening to what we have to say
Absolutely.
today. So, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Matt, and I am here with my co-host.
This is Rod. Thank you guys for tuning in again. As I always say, make sure you subscribe to the channel, the Friends Podcast. We're at iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere you check out podcasts, we're there. So
Most definitely. And so, so usually we do, sometimes we do just chats between me and Rod, or we kind of just kick it with ourselves and stuff like that. But today we have a special guest, and here we have Purr. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, y'all. My name is Purr. I'm a DJ based in Queens, New York.
Yeah, we definitely got Purr in here today for some good conversations and everything like that. So let's kind of start with talking about everybody's week. So, Rod, how is everything going for you?
always been pretty good. Work, regular day-to-day stuff, getting the podcast, everything going, and yeah, just coming up with new topics and guests and things of that nature. What about you?
Definitely feel that. Shit, same old shit, man. Same old shit. Just editing, work, moving. It's been like 3 days. I've been moving for 3 days, so it's ridiculous, man. But how about you, Per? How's your week been? Your last 7 days?
I had a bomb last 7 days, to keep it real with you.
Okay.
I had a Wild Earth Day. I played 2 parties on Earth Day. So, and the first party, we all did Tai Chi together to start off the party, which was mad fun. We did a little grounding meditation, like at the party, like homies was drinking Hennessy and doing Tai Chi to honor the earth. So it was mad fire. There was some free seeds that got passed around. So afterwards, people could take seeds home with them and like plant stuff. And I was spinning some tracks that had people going from like mosh pit to like doing the 2-step within like the same hour. It was really given. So yeah, I had a good week.
That's really cool. Now you just mentioned plants. Do you have like plants around the home? Like, would you consider yourself a plant mom, as they say?
Yes, I'm definitely a plant parent. For sure. I have a philodendron, which is like a kind of a big tree plant. And then I also have a snake plant. I just got a jade plant, and I've been keeping like flowers and stuff like that around the house too. So yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Now, do you DJ for the flowers too, for the plants?
Yes, definitely for the plants. I wake up, play my music. I talk to my plants every day. You know, we have a bond.
Okay, yeah, that's dope. That's definitely dope to hear. So, I guess we can go ahead and get into the interview and stuff like that. So, Raj, you want to go ahead and intro and kind of get into that?
Yeah, I just kind of want to get to know more about your DJing and how you got involved in like your influences.
Okay, wavy. So I started DJing like for real, like playing on decks about 9 months ago. So it's really been a short period of time to have a lot of success, which is actually pretty fire. But I feel like, my relationship with music and stuff started like when I was a kid, like listening to my mom play the same like Brandy cassette tape when I was like 5 years old. So that's really like, I think my mom was like my first musical influence. So yeah, but my DJ influences are like, I love the old heads like Jazzy Jeff. He's like, I'm a huge fan of him. And then like, I'm really into music from all over the world. So I listen to a lot of Toronto DJs like Bambi. And like, I'm really deep into I'm a piano South African house music scene. So I'm a fan of a lot of like DJ producers, obviously like Khaled and like, Uncle Waffles. I'm a huge fan of her right now too. So
Okay,
yeah.
Uncle Waffle. We got to check that. That's an interesting name. I got to check that out for sure.
Yeah.
Now you just mentioned a Brandy cassette tape. Was it Never Say Never? Was it Full Moon?
It was the one that has I Want to Be Down on it.
Oh, that was the first one. I think that was her self-titled one. Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Definitely a good one for sure. So, okay, well then, kind of like let's kind of take it back then. So, like, where are you from, and like, how would you describe like your experience, like growing up?
Yeah, so I'm from upstate New York actually, which is like I'm from kind of like the burbs, but it's like, if you drive a little too far out, you're basically around farms and stuff like that. So definitely grew up in the suburbs. Definitely was around a lot of like white kids who really loved rap music all the time. So that was like a little bit weird for me because I kind of lived on like the borderlines of like the suburbs and like the hood or whatever. So yeah, my upbringing was a little bit strange in that
Okay.
regard, but like the way I came to music also reflects that very much. Like my dad is super into like Bad Brains, like Rolling Stones, like the Smiths, the Pixies, like just
Hmm.
all different kind of things like that. He has the entire Beatles discography on vinyl. So I grew up with that with him, and then with my mom, it was very much like Brandy, MC Light, Busta Rhymes, DeBrat, Missy
Hmm.
Elliott, like all those influences. So, and then a lot of my other family is super into like oldies type music like Otis Redding. I used to listen to Johnny Cash with my grandparents. So my musical
Hmm.
influences are kind of just like all over the place. But yeah, as a kid growing up, like super connected to nature, like upstate New York, middle of nowhere, like the woods kind of thing. I went to college in the Hudson Valley, so that's near Woodstock, so where the Woodstock Festival happens. So for those years, I was like super into Jimi Hendrix, like very like hippy dippy type music.
Yeah.
And that was about like 4 years ago now. So then I made my way down to the city, and now I'm really just open format DJ. Brooklyn drill music plays down my block every day. So yeah,
I bet. I bet. So
yeah.
like, what made you like decide to go from upstate just to come down to to the city, and like why Queens? I guess.
Yeah, so in high school, I used to like skip school and take like the $10 megabus. So the city's like 3 hours away from where I grew up, and come down to the city just to like mess around, to be honest, just to like sit in Times Square and be like, yo, this is crazy. And being from New York, like a lot of people really want to live in New York City. In my opinion, best city in the world, of course, because I live here. So I always wanted to live in the city, just the attraction, the lights, the vibes, like it just seemed where all the cool people were, all the party people, just super inspired by fashion. I also model, so it
Hmm.
was just given like all roads really pointed to New York City, and I just had to be here. And when I first moved, I moved with a homie from college, and I was in Astoria, and now I'm out in Ridgewood, which is like closer to Bushwick, so it's a little bit more lively. Astoria is a little bit more like chill vibes kind of thing.
Okay. Would you say
Yeah,
Queens is the best borough?
Queens is the best borough.
What? Okay, sounds good. I only been to New York like 2 times, but I like Queens. I like Queens. Brooklyn was cool.
Okay,
I
word.
haven't been to the Bronx before though, but yeah, I think Queens was cool, like Astoria area and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Queens. I'm gonna say this. I feel like it's the best borough because Queens is the world's borough. There's the most people from like all over the world that live in Queens,
Hmm.
so that's why I feel like it's the best. And two, I feel like Queens has the best food, hands down.
Really? Okay.
Yes, the best food, and you can get any kind of food, any cuisine from anywhere in the world at pretty much any hour of the day. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Would you say that was like a like, so where you were from? Like, was it
Hmm.
like a melting pot kind of, or like was it
No,
just like black and white and that's it?
yeah, where I'm from is basically just like black and white, and then there's like some Asian folks, some Indian people, but it's not really like culturally like that diverse or anything like that. Um, and even like I would get stared at all the time for like wearing my afro out and stuff like that. Versus now, like being in the city, which is like why I wanted to be here so bad. You just see different kind of people all the time, just different looks all the time. Like, and I still get stared at sometimes for some of the looks that I pull, but I'm just like, I'm definitely not the craziest person you've seen today. Like, keep it pushing, yo.
Yeah, definitely some interesting characters in New York City for sure. So, well, that's
Yeah,
dope though, because I feel like yeah, I think it's I feel like you can learn more about people when you are around like people that are not like you. So it's like you're around like probably people of Asian descent, like people of African, like everybody. So I think that's probably
everybody.
like, yeah, that's a good environment to be in for sure.
Well,
So
I mean, what's some of the food spots you check out that are in Queens?
The food spots. All right, so if you come here, you gotta holla at me. The Birria Landia truck. They're originally from LA, but they're out here now, and it's like beef tacos, and they marinate the beef for like 8 hours,
Damn.
and then you dip it in this like soup called consume. And the tacos are fried in the leftover beef juices. Mind you, I was vegetarian for 4 years before I tried these beef tacos. I just want to let y'all know
uh-huh.
that they're that good. I literally cried the first time I ate them.
Is that what made you
Wow.
change
Yeah.
from vegetarian, like all the good food?
um, Literally that, yes.
Wow. Yeah. No, Birria is pretty good, but I feel like New York, like you said, there's really good food there, so I got to check that one out. So yeah, let's kind of talk about like so DJing. So you like you said you just DJ'd, Earth Day and stuff like that. So like what's been some of like your dopest experiences DJing so far?
I'm still making them, to be honest. But basically, like, I guess a little background of how I got into it. So last year, I realized that I was spending a lot of time, like, even with COVID and stuff, like New York has still been popping. So I definitely realized, but the parties have gotten a little bit more expensive here just because like the venues and things like that and the bars have sort of like, asking a little bit more from like the people who are involved in nightlife in terms of like hosts and people who throw events. Like, we need more bread from you because of COVID regulations and paying our staff more and,
Hmm.
inflation.
Yeah.
So I realized that I was spending a lot of money going to parties. And I was like, I don't really know if this is where I want my energy to be. Like, I was spending all this money going out, spending all this money on drinks and being involved in nightlife. And it's like, it feels like a lot of people like just want to party, party, party. Um, and that is me, but at the same time, I'm totally content reading a good book on a Friday night, like chilling. I do not need to be in the streets. And I was like, how can I be more involved in nightlife in a way where I actually feel like I have a role, right? Like, I'm not just like in nightlife going to parties just to like be one of the people in the crowd, but like, how can I actually get involved in nightlife so that, I don't go and like get super drunk every weekend. Because I've definitely struggled with like my own like alcoholism and stuff like that. So it's like, how can I just go and really have a good time, but also contribute something to the community of nightlife? And I started asking myself that question, and I looked to bigger people who throw the parties, and I realized that everybody that I looked up to was a DJ. And I started making friends with DJs. I started meeting a lot of other DJs. Um, and some of them really put me on to game, and they were like, yo, just like go to the studio, watch some YouTube videos, like buy a starter controller and try it out for yourself and see if it's something that you like. So I really like, I had a couple friends put me onto the game. For the most part, I really spent like 6 months hardcore just watching YouTube videos every day, like British dudes on YouTube being like, push this button, like that's how you go do the thing. I bought my equipment off some random guy off Craigslist. Like, he never even opened the box. It was crazy. He was like, I thought I was gonna be a DJ, I never did. I was like, well, I'm gonna do it. And it's funny because I'm the kind of person where like I think a lot of my friends kind of see me pick up hobbies and then like not really follow through. Like, there's definitely periods of my life where I've been like, this year I'm gonna be a yogi, and then it's like 8 months from now, you still doing yoga, cat? Nah, I'm not doing that no more. But it's actually really crazy the experience that I've had because DJing has really stuck. Like, I really forced myself to be dedicated and super committed. Like, I would go party on a Friday night, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. I'm in the DJ studio just looking at like festival level equipment, like frustrated because I'm like, it's really hard as a DJ to find people who are down to mentor you and give you game for free. And there's not a lot of folks who like teach lessons. That's even hard to find too. And a lot of the equipment is expensive and inaccessible. So a lot of people put me on to like low cost resources, especially being in New York City, those resources available. So yeah, I just really taught myself a lot of stuff.
Okay, that's super dope. Now, so you kind of mentioned that, some of the things that you did before, like they didn't all the way pan out like you wanted them to, but like, so what felt different with DJing? Like, was it when you saw the crowd the first time? Like, what was it that was like, okay, this is what I'm about to put my energy into?
Yeah, so I feel like I've always identified as kind of like a rave kid. Like, I love going to like crazy warehouse parties and like stuff like that. But what I realized that's really big in New York, and is no shade to that, is all love, is techno music is like really huge here.
Mm.
But I feel like for me, like as a black person and as someone who like wants to shake my ass, not that you can't shake your ass to techno music, because you can. I realized that I was having a really hard time finding parties that played the music that I wanted to dance to, right? And it's very much in DJ culture. Like, if you're going to a rave or something, the music is so loud, it's insane. Like, and also you don't go up to a DJ and like ask for a request at a rave, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do that. So
Can
I
I hear
think,
WAP?
yeah, right, at the rave. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it'll be mixed in there, okay?
Interesting.
But yeah, I was like, I really want to hear more like ass shaking music, and I don't hear it enough. And like, I also don't see enough people who look like me getting the spotlight behind the decks. I've realized that there's a huge underground community of Black women and non-binary people and queer people and all different kinds of people who are DJs, and they're super incredible. But they definitely don't get the spotlight like the major DJs that you see, which are mostly white men, to be honest. Um, So yeah, I realized like I want to be someone who's like behind the decks. And when I started pulling music, I was like pulling a lot of like rap and trap music. And then I started pulling music from other countries like ballet and like dembao music from Brazil. I got really into that for a while. I go through in and out of like my phases and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so you kind of mentioned the crowd before, like, oh, I don't want to be somebody that's just in the crowd. But so speaking of that, so like, what moves the crowd, or like, what's been your experience like trying to look at the crowd and be like, okay, this is what they want to hear right now?
The ecology of the dance floor. I think of the dance floor as like an ecosystem, because like you have your people who will like stand in the back of the room and probably just bop and vibe the whole night. And even though they could be so lit to your music and you have no idea because they're not really shaking it. And
Yeah.
then you have like the people who are kind of in front of them or like with them, so they'll chat to them, but they'll still bop, maybe like hold their drink. And then you have the people who will like come right up to you, be in front of you, probably try to spill their drink on your DJ equipment, going crazy, starting a mosh pit kind of thing. So
Hmm.
I feel like that's who I play for the most. Like even if I'm in an empty club and there's like the bartender and like a couple of people and the party's just starting, but there's like one old head in the back of the room like doing the two step, I'm with him. Like me and him are vibing. So yeah, that's really what I base it off of. Because first, I feel like I was a dancer and like I was a spectator, right? Like I was a patron, like before I came to DJ. So I'm still very much learning how the dance floor moves and how the flow, the ebbs and flows of like a night or a party go to.
Okay, sounds good. That's really cool because I feel like, and that's also probably interesting to have that perspective of looking from the booth and, like you said, seeing the people in the back and the front, who's wilding out, who's going crazy. Like, that's probably a super interesting experience. But let's switch it up and kind of talk about like your modeling and stuff like that. So, like, what kind of made you kind of get into that field and that realm?
Yeah, so people have always wanted to take my picture. I remember the first time I modeled, I guess. I was on a beach. I was like 5 years old, and my natural hair is like, I have a really big, like, afro when my hair is fully grown out. And I got featured in like a children's book because this photographer was like doing photography for a children's book about the beach, and they took my picture, and I'm in this crazy children's book. I was like 5. And that was like the first time I modeled. And ever since then, I was always involved in like choir and like dancing and in school plays and stuff like that. And then in college, a bunch of my friends were super artsy, so some of them had like their own underwear brands, their own like t-shirt brands, or like merch for their bands and stuff like that. So I started modeling like my friends' clothes, and then I moved to New York City, and I just got tapped in with mad photographers and fellow models and designers and other creatives, and it really turned snowballed and turned into like people hitting me up like once a week being like, do you want to model for this, do you want to model for that, which became super fire. And for a while I was managing a store in Soho, so I was meeting a
Hmm.
lot of fashion heads all the time. So yeah, my
Mm,
modeling stuff is pretty consistent too, so that's fire.
okay. Now, how would you describe your style? Like, are you like a thrifter? You like a high end? Like, how would you describe like yours?
I think it's really varies. I feel like I'm super 90s. I dress like TLC a lot. It's giving very
Okay.
Y2K. And I like name brand stuff, but I would prefer to give my money to black owned brands always. So, like, I got the Telflar, I
Oh
got stuff
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
the branded Blackwood, some black owned designers that I really like. But I love Nikes, like that's my big thing. Like Dunk Lows is kind of like my vibe. But I also wear a lot of like platform shoes because I'm really short and I like to look taller. So definitely like chunky platforms, and like I do like bell bottoms, like 70s style sometimes. So I always be switching it up of like what's the vibe or what's the feeling of the day for my style. But yeah, anything from like high end to like if I'm walking by a cool thrift store in the city, or even some random person like in Washington Square Park that's a vendor that's selling like handmade crocheted bags, and I've never seen anything like it before. I feel like my biggest thing is like when I get dressed to be perceived, right? To be looked at on the train, have people look at me, be like, damn, that's a fly outfit.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
also, I look for stuff that other people don't have. So I don't want to wear something that like everybody else has, or like I don't ever want to pull up to an event and someone is wearing the same outfit as me. I'd be mortified.
yeah. That's so embarrassing. So I guess it sounds like you kind of get influence from fashion style, like kind of from everywhere. Like, do you get it from family too? Like, do you get it from people walking down the street? Like, where you get it from?
Definitely people walking down the street. Not my family. My family's giving very vineyard vines.
Okay.
Um,
That's
which
cool
no
too
shade,
sometimes.
no
Yeah.
shade. I love them. They're very. It's giving very Ralph Lauren polo. Okay.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, definitely walking down the street and definitely like when I'm chilling in Brooklyn, I'm super inspired by like all the fashion I see people, especially like when you're waiting online for the taco truck and there's like the really fly guy and he's wearing like an all velour jumpsuit and I ain't never seen nothing like that before and it's like custom and it's got his name on the back. Like that's something
Yeah.
that would really inspire me to be like, should I get a velour jumpsuit? Like that's wild. Yeah, that kind of thing really inspires me. Just being in the city and just taking people in and seeing what kinds of crazy outfits people come up with is super fun.
So how did you come up with some of your style like back in the day, being from like the suburbs and that kind of area?
Yeah, so back in the day, I definitely was very, and still am pretty nerdy. I definitely dressed very much like I rocked my afro a lot. So I dressed very much like 1970s with like bell bottoms, maybe like a little button up with like short sleeves. Used to wear like a lot of like polos and button downs and like grandma dresses with a lot of like flowers, stuff like that. And then when
Hmm.
I came to the city, my style definitely changed a lot to like move and flow with like the people around me, and it definitely got a little bit more cool, a little bit more polished.
Okay.
So now it's kind of like your whole crew now that's like that dress in that '90s kind of fab.
Yeah, my whole squad definitely be dressing now.
Super dope. Now you kind of you seem to have very good energy about you, very positive. It seems, from this interview. So like, how do you kind of balance that? In the hustling and bustling city. Like, how do you keep the good energy?
For sure. So I definitely try to like do yoga and stuff like that every day. I feel like grounding and just like doing breathing and stuff like that is really important for your spirit, just to like be rooted in your body. And I definitely get a lot of sun, as much sun as I
Mm,
can, which
yeah.
is really hard in the winter months in New York. But especially right now in the springtime, it's fab. Like I spend a lot of time on my rooftops, just like laying out, taking in the sun is like super important for my mental health. I feel like, and I just care a lot about my mental health and try to be in flow as much as possible, not like force things or force experiences. And I feel like that helps me
Mhm.
be really positive too.
So does that include meditation and that kind of stuff with your yoga?
Yeah, I do a lot of meditation. I try to do yoga every day. Like, even if I can only get on the mat for 10 minutes, I know that 10 minutes will probably drastically improve how I'm moving for the rest of my day. So, I think that stuff is really important, especially being someone who is in nightlife, right? So, like, if I have to spin a party and the party don't start till 12 and I go on at 2 o'clock, and like, I have to be up from 2 to 3 a.m. and I have to be hype from 2 to 3 a.m. And it's like,
Mhm.
sometimes nightlife can be a little dark. Like you pull up to the DJ booth and the lights are out and the people are vibing and it's like I've seen these souls on the dance floor before, right? And it's like demon time. So when you're on that type of timing for your work and like your creative passion, I feel
Mhm.
like your other type of timing for me, I have to have that balance. So it's the complete opposite. It's giving like days in the park, the sun, right?
Mhm. So what's your thoughts like so far on like being sober while, DJing, performing versus like drinking, smoking and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I will say if I'm in a venue that, like, a lot of times I play at different venues or like random parties or just like random loft parties or like someone's like, yo, pull up to this rooftop, do a set, like pull up to my weird backyard garage, we throwing a party back here. Like I'm even booked to play in like a skate park, that kind of thing. So definitely if I'm in a location that I've never played in before, for the most part, I don't drink while I play, especially because I'm a newer DJ. So I still feel like I have to be like pretty focused while I'm playing. I feel like I'm still getting in the groove of like just learning how to not take the music part of it so seriously, but also make sure that I'm like whatever I spin, I should be vibing. Like I should be going dummy to whatever music that I'm playing because I'm trying to make everyone else go dummy at the party. Like I'm the
Mhm.
vibe conductor. So for the most part, I actually try not to drink during my sets, which really like makes a huge difference, and I feel like makes me be a little bit more precise. But there is one spot where I have a residency at. It's a Nigerian-owned club. It's really fire. I play strictly African house music and Afro beats when I'm there. and I usually have a whole night to myself, so I'll play for like 4 hours at a time. So especially during those sets, I'm doing like long form mixing. So I'll probably let a song play for 4 minutes before I start blending with like my second song. So on those nights, I be getting a little schmiz. I be getting a little bit more lit when I get to do like long form mixing because the
Mm-hmm.
beats are a little bit more like um, jazzy. It's a little bit more house, but if
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing like a rap and trap party where like the mixing is like a little bit quicker, like maybe I'll only let a song play for like 1 to 2 minutes, then like I feel like I have to be more precise. So I probably won't get lit until my set's over.
Yeah, definitely got to get on point because if you mess, don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up, and
Yeah.
then look at you like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the Afro house music has words and like phrases and stuff like that, but it's
Okay.
mostly just like drums and like instrumentals and things like that, which as
Hmm.
DJs a little bit easier to mix than the rap and trap kind of vibe. So, but I love it all.
How do you get your sets together for each crowd? Do you know the type of crowd that's gonna come, or are you just kind of creating the sets for yourself, like you just said, for your own vibe?
I think right now I definitely curate for myself and for others. So I have like a huge bank of music. On top of my bank of music, I have probably like 2 to 3 thousand songs with just titles written down that like I don't even have the songs yet, but I just have them written down for like, okay, just to prep like if I'm gonna pull this bank of music for this type of thing that I'm doing.
Hmm.
Um, but definitely it's really based off the booking, and it's based off like very situational, of course, too. Like for May, I'm booked to play a block party in Bed-Stuy, and it's going to be outside. And like, folks will have specific requests too, right? So it's like, please don't play a lot of music with swears or try to avoid the explicit version of songs because kids are going to be there. So for that, like, it's giving very like Parliament, Funkadelic,
Yeah.
like, two
Little
stepping
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
songs, Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? Stuff like that. Some Janet Jackson, like really 1970s music,
Hmm.
James Brown, uh, um, let's see what else. The Temptations, like just cool like old head music that you could get lit to that's chill versus like if I have another booking that's like an artist and there's going to be a bunch of like rappers who are also like performing and stuff that night, it's very much like, all right, I'm immediately go pull like all my Young Thug, my like Southern rap, like Young Nudie. I'm gonna go pull like stuff that people could like mosh to a little bit. So like
Hmm.
I'll pull my Playboy Cardi stuff. I'll pull my female rappers like Rico. So it's really based off the booking and like the vibe.
Pretty cool. So let's kind of switch it up, like all the way switch it up. So like let's talk about horoscopes and astrology. So how much do you one? Okay, let's start here. Do you believe in astrology?
I 1,000% believe in astrology.
Okay. Now, how much, like, so basically you kind of take it into account, like, on your everyday life, like, pretty much
I check where the moon is in relationship to my chart every day,
every day. Okay.
literally every day.
Okay. Really cool. So, what's your sign, by the way?
So I'm a Libra sun, Virgo rising, and a Cancer moon.
Okay. I don't know why I asked that because I don't know what that means, but
Wait, do you know? Do y'all know your signs?
I mean, I'm a Cancer.
I know I'm a Libra,
That's all I know.
Okay,
so
you're a Libra.
Yeah, I think. Are you? Yeah, I don't know anything about it. So, kind of like talk about that. Like, so what makes you? What got you into it, and like, what kind of makes you believe
I
in it? You
definitely
know?
want to know the moon thing and like looking at that every day. Like, what
And
is
like
that?
what that stuff
Yeah, what
means.
does that
Okay,
tell
word.
you?
So, well, if you're a Cancer, are you born in July?
Yep, July 20th at
Okay,
3
word.
something p.m. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you're a Libra, so are you September or
I'm
October?
like the end of September.
The end of September. Okay, word. Me too. Um, so basically, your sun sign is like supposed to be kind of how you actually are.
Hmm.
Um, your rising sign is supposed to be how other people perceive you, and then your moon sign is supposed to dictate what your emotions and like feelings are.
Okay,
Okay.
and that
Yeah, so
changes
that's
every
kind of
day.
why. And so the position, so your planets don't change, right? Like you have a birth chart and it's all where all your planets were when you were born at the exact time you were born is where all the planets were, and you can like go by like the degrees and stuff.
Hmm.
But what changes not every day but frequently, like maybe every 1 to 2 days, is like the moon is changing, right? Because the moon goes through phases. So the moon goes through the different 12 astrological signs over like the period of the month. So I'd be checking where the moon is and how that's affecting like my emotions for the day in relation to my chart. I feel like I've kind of excelled beyond the horoscopes level to the point where like I can really like read my own chart and look at the different like degrees, and I pay to get readings done and stuff like that.
Okay.
But how I got into it was really like, I guess maybe like 4 or 5 years ago when astrology got super big and like co-star kind of became a thing and people really started checking their horoscopes every day.
Hmm.
I got like deep into it, like on another level. And I know that like on some conspiracy level type thing, I know like the government pays astrologers and celebrities have paid astrologers and stuff
Mm.
like that. And I've read about people like using like where the planetary alignments are and like astrology to like help them get famous and stuff like that. So let me not put everyone onto this free game, okay?
Yeah,
Because
no, no, no.
astrology could really change your life for real.
Hmm. No, I will admit I have like opened the CoStar app like a couple times, like randomly, and I've been like, I read it and it's like, wow, this is exactly what I'm going through right now. Like this is just what I need to hear. So I can, there. I feel like there's definitely some truth to it. Um, so you pretty much take it into account for your whole life. Is this something that you feel like you want to study like more like in a super deep way? Like, do you want to kind of give, like kind of advise on it one day, or like how do you feel about that?
I don't know if I want to give advice for other people, but I've definitely considered putting out like an astrology themed like mix series or something like that. Because I always want to do something really cute for my friends' birthdays and stuff. So for all of my friends' birthdays, if it's your birthday and I know you, I'll sing happy birthday to you over voice note. It's like a little surprise thing I do for all my friends. So I would love to like release maybe like a mix series like based on each astrology sign or something. So um, like I know cancers can be kind of like, because my moon is in cancer, so I know I can be a very like a crybaby a little bit sometimes. Like I could be like very
Hmm.
like a little bit emotional, kind of like in my feelings. So if I made like a cancer mix, I would probably put like some like Flower Boy, Tyler the Creator on there. I'd probably
Hmm.
put some like Brockhampton on there, a little bit like sad boy, like rap music.
Hmm. Yeah.
But for like a Libra season mix, I feel like I'd probably put like Frontin' by Pharrell and like I don't know, a lot of stuff
That's my
that's
shit
just
right
like
there.
a really vibey about like stunting on people. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I could probably do a little mix for like every single sign.
So before we get off of that, so kind of describe Libras. Like, what do you feel like is the characteristics of a Libra?
Okay, so for me, how it applies to me personally, and like your sun sign applies to everybody differently. But for me as a Libra, I feel like I'm really focused on maintaining balance in my life. I feel like one of the ultimate, things in my life is trying to have balance. So it's like I could spend a Friday night at the club, but that means Saturday all day I want to be in the park or go to the library or a bookstore or be around plants and like read a book. So I'm
Hmm.
super focused on maintaining balance. Like I love being partying and being out with my friends, but I also really, really love my alone time. So I feel like maybe as a Libra, I can be a little hot and cold in that way because it really all depends on like the vibe that I'm feeling. But I just think balance is just super important to have in your life, and it's something I'm always striving towards.
Definitely feel like read into my soul right there.
Ready
Yeah, did you relate? Do you feel similarly being a Libra?
Yeah, I do feel like pretty similar. Like a lot of time, like my alone time, but when I'm out with friends, I kind of like to have fun and just go with the flow.
Dope, dope. So let's kind of get into this. So, like, let me ask you a question. So, if you could be any cartoon character, what would it be and why?
Okay, the Thornberries.
Oh yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
The cartoon, the I think her name is Debbie Thornberry. She
Mm-hmm.
has like freckles and she's a ginger, and she yeah, and her family on the Thornberries, if you've never seen it before, they like go on little safaris and stuff like that. I feel like that would be me if I was a cartoon character.
I could see that though, because she was kind of fly too. She had the flannel, like, and all that kind of stuff. She was fly,
She
but I
was
feel like she,
dressing. Her hair was always kind of like a little wild looking, which I feel like yeah, I usually got some of that going on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She was kind of like, I don't know. She had a little attitude sometimes though. I feel like she was like the mean sister. You know what I mean? I don't know. Would you describe yourself as that? Like, do you feel like you have a mean streak sometimes?
I don't think I have a mean streak, but I'd definitely be knowing when I need an attitude adjustment. Yeah, I would say I could be a little moody occasionally. but it's never no shade to anybody else. It's more like, this is my dancing space. This is your dancing space. If I'm gonna invite you into my dancing space,
Hmm.
act right.
Hmm. Everything got to be aligned. Everything got to be
Right.
aligned. So actually, let me speaking of aligning, I kind of want to go back to the horoscopes. Like, so the Mercury retrograde. Like, do you feel that for real? Like, do you really be feeling like when it's in retrograde, like, damn, everything is going completely wrong right now?
Okay, first of all, I'm gonna debunk this real quick because
Okay.
people love to talk about Mercury retrograde as if it's like the biggest thing that could affect anyone ever. It just means that the planet is moving in the opposite direction that it usually does, and that it's closer to the Earth, so that we feel it a little bit more intensely. But other planets go in retrograde all the time. We just came out of a huge period of time where Venus was in retrograde. So that means that a lot of people were realigning their relationships and their partnerships and assessing, like, their breakups, even relationships to their home and family, like relationships to everything in your life and partnerships were like being assessed just now. And
Hmm.
maybe like during Venus retrograde, what happens, and similarly to Mercury retrograde, like maybe like your exes hit me up, or like people from the past from out of nowhere start coming at you, and you're like, yo, I haven't talked to this person in like 7 years. Why are they texting my phone right now? Like, how do they even still have my number? But yes, I do feel like I feel that stuff intensely. I feel like whenever Mercury retrograde happens, I always try to be mindful of it because I generally run on CP time. So when Mercury retrograde hits and you on CP time already, and then you miss the train, and then you went the wrong way, it's the worst. Or like if you don't charge any of your electronics usually, and then Mercury retrograde hits, and then like let's say you got something big you got to do, phone dead, laptop dead,
Mm.
electronics broken. So I be trying to keep my stuff in check all the time, but especially around that time, it's a time to pay attention to it a little bit more. And also, retrogrades are a time to actually slow down, right? And to actually like assess things. So I think that's really important too.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I definitely need to look into more of it because, like you said, you went deep into it, so you know pretty much everything. Because you definitely debunked that for me. So it's definitely cool. So let's kind of talk about you're a creative, and so like let's kind of talk about like empowering creatives. Like, do you feel like people that are in that sort of field or profession are empowered? Right now, like just in a general sense, and if not, like how can creators be more empowered? Like specifically Black creators.
I think we're in a very unique moment right now for Black creatives, because I think we went through a period of time, right, where so many people were trying to like donate to Black people more and donate to Black businesses more, and mutual aid was really like popping off and things like that over the last couple of years. And maybe that's died down a little bit. But I still think we're in a space where people look to feature Black creatives a lot more, which is super exciting. But at the same time, I don't want it ever to just be for show, right? I want folks to genuinely be compensated for the things that they want to create, not just like, oh, you know, I want to book you because you're like a Black woman DJ, right? But like, I want you to play this type of music the entire time.
Right.
Like,
Nah.
nah, you booked me so that I could play you what I play, which is what I do. So if you don't want me for what I do, or maybe I'm not suited for the kind of vibe that you're trying to create, don't just book me because I'm a Black woman. Find another Black woman who does the same thing, like does the thing that you want to do, right?
Mm.
So I also want to make sure that creatives, especially Black creatives, are not only being featured for their work, but being featured in a way that actually, fits whatever the project or whatever the opportunity is really important to me. And I think we're at a moment right now where social media can either really be used to your advantage or to your disadvantage.
Hmm.
Like, it's definitely hard for me to not get jealous of other, creatives and other opportunities and other experiences, because it's like, oh, I wish that was me right now, or I wish I was at that level. But instead, it's looking from a perspective of like, you're at where you're at right now because you're on your own journey. So it's sort of like, trying to use social media and things like that also as an advantage, and not as like a disadvantage as a creative, I think is uniquely difficult for Black creatives as well. Because I don't ever want, us to feel like we're all like in competition with each other. Like, you should be able to
Yeah.
work unilaterally, like work with your people and like make stuff happen. So yeah.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot actually on this show, like social media and stuff like that. It's kind of hard for it not to be a competition because it's kind of set up that way because the things that are rewarded are the things that are liked the most and stuff like that. Like that's what you see on your feed and stuff. So it's like, how can you even get out of, feeling like you're compared to somebody, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely take a lot of social media breaks, or I try to as much as possible. I
Hmm.
feel like I have the best relationship with my social media when I'm using it more of like a business to like put my creative things out there, and not when I'm just like aimlessly scrolling for, hours at a time, because like social media is made to be addictive, right? So it's like spending less time watching what all the other DJs doing, like what other DJs are doing, and actually like being in the studio and just DJing myself. I'm gonna feel way better about myself if I practice for 4 hours instead of like scrolling for 4 hours and just watching what everyone else is doing, because I'm not doing that. So I think like taking breaks from social media, trying to use your social media, if that's what you want to use your social media for, to promote yourself as a creative, to promote your platform, using it as a business, posting your stuff, messaging your people, and then just signing off for the day. I think is really important to take breaks. And even like, if folks feel like they have to, like, log off for like a week and like see how it feels. I know when I try to do that, it's really hard. So I definitely am always trying to manage that relationship, and also just um, posting stuff that you actually want to post, like not just posting a picture because you feel like, oh, this is like Instagram worthy or whatever. Nah, like post a picture because you mess with the picture, or post a meme because you think the meme is the funniest thing you've ever seen, not just because you know other people are gonna like it. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, definitely feel that. So let's kind of talk about some current events. So there was like this story that came out. I think it was sometime like last week. I don't want to date the podcast, but so it was DJ Envy was talking about him and his wife, how his wife was, faking orgasms for 10 years. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about
Yeah, so
that.
I guess like they were together like since they were like kids and stuff like that, and like she was faking orgasms for 10 whole years, and like he didn't know about it. So, how do you like? What's your thoughts on that? Just first, just hearing like something like that, do you feel like that's realistic that like she would do that and then not, like what's your first thoughts on that?
10 years is a long time to be faking it, but I do feel like that's actually incredibly realistic. I know there is like this percentage of like uh, women who like get orgasms when they hook up with men for the first time, and I think it's like in like the 30%, versus like women when they masturbate by themselves and they orgasm, it's like 80 to 90% of the time. And then it's like
It's
when women hook
crazy.
up with other women for the first time, they usually
Hmm.
orgasm like half the time. So I feel like my gentlemen, y'all gotta do a little better. Y'all gotta do a little better. But also, I feel like if you're with a person for 10 years and you're not actively communicating your desires, um, and the things that you like, that's kind of on you.
You think that's what it is? Like it's just not the
Yeah,
communication of like
because
what you want.
10 years. But I'm also the kind of person where like I really cannot, like, I'm not good at faking my emotions. Like if I don't like when something's happening, even like my all my homies know, my friends know, if I walk into a room and I don't like the vibe, it's all over my face. So that could never be me. That could never be me.
Yeah, but that's kind of the first thing that kind of popped out to me too. Is like, how are y'all not saying anything in 10 years, and how does she even continue to? No, I don't know. I mean, it could be cap, but like, how could she even continue to do that for 10 years and not say anything? Like, that's kind of like, I don't know. Women be going through it sometimes because they just be having to do shit that they don't want to do, and it's just like, damn, like 10 years is just suffering. Like that's what it sounds like to me.
It could be that, but I think it also could be that, right, maybe she like actually really genuinely like loves him and like cares about him and like wants to be in a marriage with him, but maybe she's not actually genuinely like sexually attracted to him.
Hmm.
That could also be like a thing, right?
Possibly,
It's
yeah.
possibly, it could be, so it could honestly be so many things.
Hmm. Do you feel like, well, I don't want to get too personal, but like, do you feel like that's what's like some important aspects of a relationship? Like, of course, sexual aspects, but like, and I know that's kind of important, but like, is there anything else like personality? Like, what has to be there for you to vibe?
I think maturity is super important to me, and I think like quality time is super important to me, as well as like open, honest, like communication. I think if like I feel like in any type of way that I can't say what I really want to say, or if I say what I really wanted to say is gonna like damage the connection, then like that's not a relationship worth having in my life. So
Mm,
I'm really just, boundaries are like the line where like I can love me and you at the same time.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like that quote really changed my life. I really prioritize like boundaries and just like mutual respect.
Okay, super dope. So I guess just to kind of wrap it up here. So I guess if somebody wants to, request you for a DJ set, somebody wants you to model and kind of like show their stuff off and stuff like that, where can they reach you at?
Yeah, so they can holler at me at Babe It's Purr on Instagram. It's Purr, Babe It's Purr, and you can just hit my DM. My email's in there too if you want to, more officially book me. And yeah, I'm available for parties in New York City and soon, hopefully beyond. So yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about like what's next from you?
Yeah, so May will be the first month. So I started DJing in August, and I really want to be real about the journey. Started DJing in August. May will be the first month that I'm fully booked for every single weekend. So
Hmm.
I have a show
Dope.
on either Friday or Saturday, or shows both days for every single weekend in May. So you'll see that from me. I'm spinning in a couple places where it'll be live streamed on Twitch, some radio shows. I'm also playing the block parties, like I said, and some fashion shows. And I'm all the way booked out until June right now. So yeah.
Do you actually do you tell everybody your events or your list, or you have like a website that people can know like what things you got going on, or do you post it on your
Yeah,
social
I
media?
promote all my parties on my social media, and soon I'll be dropping like my own branding and stuff like that with sort of like my flyer. And pretty much right now, all of my parties are in Brooklyn, so it's giving Brooklyn tour.
Okay. Sounds
Yeah,
good. Super dope. Well, we definitely appreciate you for coming through, Per. We definitely appreciate that. So we'll go ahead and post your links and stuff in the
Most
bottom.
def.
I guess any last words before you get out of here?
just peace and love. Be easy. Music from the streets is what makes my heart sing. So I hope to keep playing that for the people.
Absolutely. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. This has been the Friends Podcast. We signing out here and we out.
Yes, sir.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.